Hello and welcome to Community Viewpoint. I'm your host for this segment, Maria Guerra. I am so lucky to be joined by two wonderful members of our community who work for Nye Community Coalition and do wonderful work here in Pahrump and Nye County, Mr. Albert Bass and Miss Rachel Leddy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So today, I know that we could probably talk for hours about all of the wonderful things that the Nye Communities Coalition does, but today we're going to talk about an event that you guys have coming up, and it's the Road to Recovery. I'm going to try to get it right. Road to Recovery Community Viewing. So tell me first, let's talk about when the event is.
The event is going to be next Thursday, March 10th at 6 p.m. It will be at the Nye Communities Coalition in the Nye Activity Center building. We are located at 1020 East Wilson Road.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about the event and about the training that's going to happen.
Well, the Road to Recovery is a video that was actually put together by the state just a few months ago.
Okay.
So it has 3 or 4 individuals that are currently recovering from an opioid addiction or a prescription pill addiction. And so it's kind of really going through the path of their life. And some of these people were very successful with their careers and what they did. And so the video is really targeted towards getting that information out to the public on, the dangers around the addiction and what it does to your life and how it can destroy you, with you being a successful person in society because the addiction takes over your life. And so the video is only about 25 minutes long, but it's really geared towards that. So it's a great video to really show the impact of the dangers of the prescription pill or the opioid. And then directly following that video, we're going to be doing a naloxone training. And naloxone is used to combat opioid overdose. So people that are experiencing an opioid overdose, you can actually take Narcan or naloxone, it's called 2 different names. You can inject that into their sinuses and it can bring them out of that overdose and actually save their life. So this is being dispersed all over the country because we have 100,000 people a year right now dying from overdose. And this is one of the #1 things that we can actually put into the community to help save people's lives. So we'll be doing a half-hour training directly following this video on naloxone and Narcan, and then we'll be giving each individual that attends actually 2 doses of this to keep with them at all times in case they ever experience somebody going through an overdose.
That's awesome. I've actually seen it. They're starting to integrate it in TV shows that show first responders, and I've actually I think it was about 1.5 years ago I went through one of the trainings, so I'm definitely going to try to be there for that because it's so important. And it's I think this is the first time in the last few years since this came out that people actually feel like they can they can actually go above and do something.
Right, they can help.
Yeah, they can help. And so I have a question which came up, a couple years ago when I did it. So somebody had asked, what happens if they're not going through an overdose and somebody thinks they are and they give it? It's harmless, right?
Yeah, completely harmless.
Give it this.
Yep,
Yeah.
I could inject this up my sinuses
So they don't
right
have
now
to be afraid.
and have no problem.
Yeah.
No. All the Narcan does, it attaches to the receptors in your brain where the opioid attaches to, and it kind of knocks them off to bring you out of that overdose cycle. So it's very safe to use, and actually Narcan and naloxone's been used for nearly 50 years in the medical industry. It just wasn't available to the public until the opioid overdose issue started happening. In 2017, the government issued a national emergency for opioid overdose, and it's gotten worse progressively over time. And that's why you see all the lawsuits between all of the states across the United States against the opioid manufacturers and opioid companies for promoting and pushing their opioid products, and yet it's caused so many deaths or near deaths as well. And for Nye County, we average over the last couple of years about 3 to 4 overdoses a month within our communities.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yep. So, and you might be walking next to somebody in a grocery store. They could go into overdose. You might be at the park. You see somebody experiencing an overdose. You could be at a school. We just had a situation just a couple of months back at a school back east, I think it was in Ohio, where a 13-year-old boy went into overdose at his school, and it was an opioid overdose due to fentanyl. And they actually found about 40 bags of fentanyl in his locker at the school. So if that would have got distributed, if he would have started handing those out to the kids in the school, it could have wiped out the whole school.
Yeah.
And it was a fatal overdose. That school did not carry Narcan or naloxone. just by the laws there, they weren't allowed to, but I'm sure those laws are going to be changed now.
Yeah,
Because it could have
yeah.
saved that young man's life, but it's getting into our communities, at a very high level.
Yeah.
Fentanyl is one of the most dangerous,
Super
and
scary.
carnofentanyl is by far the most dangerous type of synthetic opioid that's getting into our populations. And so with getting this into the public and doing the training to make everybody very comfortable with its use, to know when it can be used, how it can be used, how to identify the signs of an overdose as well, is what that half-hour training is going to be directly following that road to recovery video.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And with this training that we're doing and this event that we're doing, we're inviting everyone in the public, especially those that do work with the public. We encourage to come so they can have these kits available.
Yeah, and I imagine like I'm just like the wheels are turning, and I'm thinking, what about like caregivers? What if like we have a lot of seniors? They may be on some type of prescription opioid and then forget they took it.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to work with many seniors when I had my home health company, and I found so many seniors on so many different forms of drugs. And many times it was an opioid that they took. Not everybody chooses to go into an overdose, a drug overdose or an opioid overdose. They're most often by accident. But again, for seniors, they take more than they should. They're not on a regular schedule all the time. They're mixing their medications, and some medications should not be taken with other medications, and they aren't always aware of that. So they experience, overdose by accident off of their prescription pills that they are prescribed to take. So if it is an opioid overdose, though, the Narcan or naloxone will help. And often it takes, 2 to 3 doses. There's about 4 milliliters in here. You just stick it up the sinuses, press the button. It's as simple as that. But it may take 2 or 3 doses of these to bring some people out of that overdose.
So that's would be 2 or 3
this is one
packages?
This is one
So
dose,
that's
but
one
2 or 3
dose.
packages. And we give everyone 2 packages with the kits that we give out.
Okay.
But again, it could be used at any time, and that there's no ill effect. The side effects are extremely minimal for using the Narcan or the naloxone. And I've actually been to trainings where they've taken it out of the package and injected it in their nose right during that training.
Oh wow,
So
that's
the goal
kind
is
of
to
a
get the
cool,
information out there.
Like message of like, this is how safe it is. So for those of you out there that maybe own businesses or have employees or work in a place where there's a lot of employees, would you encourage them to get a hold of you to do trainings for all of their employees as well?
Absolutely. We go and train businesses. We train individuals. So a business could contact us at the Nye Community Coalition and say, I have 15 employees or whatever it may be. I'd like them trained on naloxone, and we'd like some naloxone in our business. Because grocery stores, bars, salons, anywhere where people are coming into a business, you could potentially have somebody go into an overdose right there at that time. And having this handy can save their life. So anyone can call us at any time. We do trainings throughout the year. We do community trainings like this one next Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. Well, this training will probably take place right at 6:30. But again, you'll have all the knowledge and the information you need to know how to identify the signs of an opioid overdose or any overdose, and then to how to administer the naloxone. And one of the biggest problems we have right now is every drug out there, every illicit drug, whether it be cocaine, heroin, marijuana, they're putting fentanyl in every drug available. And the reason they do that is because they can make that drug or manufacture that drug cheaper, but they can put a little bit of fentanyl in it, and you think you're getting the best quality stuff you've ever had. And it only takes an equivalent of about 2 grains of salt of fentanyl to kill a person. So if you look at the amount, how much it takes. So it's a very small amount that can kill a person, and it's getting put into every single drug that we have in our society today. And that's where people are taking these other drugs, but they're going into overdose really from the fentanyl that's been mixed in with those drugs.
Right. So people better be very, very careful.
Yes.
I mean, is there like a message to someone who might be watching or might have purchased or used a different type of drug? Like I don't want to say like, what can they do to make sure I know drugs are not safe, but I mean, where can they call, or what can they do? Like whether it be to get help or to just make sure they're not going to be killing themselves. Cause it's dangerous for them. It's like, they're just taking a chance anytime. It's not, it's not just like, before, I guess that the landscape of I guess drug use in the country is changing, and now it's deadly. It seems like this is scary stuff.
It's getting worse and worse. And one of the things anyone can do is know somebody who is a substance misuse person. We don't say substance abuse anymore. We say substance misuse, but it could be with any illicit drug or even prescription pills, where they're addicted to different types of prescription pills. But they can contact the Nye Community Coalition. We can get them in touch with one of our substance misuse specialists or one of our community health workers to get them linked into a program for treatment, or get them into counseling or get them to a therapist. So we create those linkages for people. But it's very important for anyone using any type of drug today, because you never know if fentanyl is going to be in it. And if there is, you would definitely want some Narcan or some naloxone available in case you or someone else you're with goes into an overdose. Yeah. Now, one of the things that you mentioned about, what can people do? So people that are taking different types of drugs, we also have fentanyl test strips. So it's a little test strip that you can take any drug and test that drug on this test strip to make sure it'll give you a little green light or a red light whether or not it has fentanyl in that drug. Wow. So as part of our harm reduction programs, that's one of the other things we do is give that kit out to people so that they can test their drugs, because people are using drugs. I mean, now across the country they're creating safe injection sites. There's needle sites. There's the vending machines that have needles and that have harm reduction tools within those. We don't have any in our county, but other counties do have those.
Until someone can get some help.
Exactly. So we encourage everybody, if you know somebody or if you're using any type of substances yourself, to make sure that you have Narcan or naloxone with you, and then also to try to use fentanyl test strips on every drug that you're using.
Okay.
And as Albert mentioned, you can contact the coalition to be connected to those services and assistance. Our phone number is 775-727-9970.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to point out, these are so small. Everybody, a guy could carry it in their pocket probably, and certainly all of us women have purses that we can throw it in, but it's not going to take up too much space. They're so small, so it doesn't make sense not to have it.
Right. You don't want to have it in a very cold environment or in a very hot environment. So some people like to keep them in their cars, so that we can put them in a little neoprene bag, and then put that within the bag in your glove compartment to keep it a lot cooler in your cars during the summer.
Okay.
But it should never be frozen or put in the refrigerator. You can put it in a cooler that's not on, or a cooler that does not have ice in it, because that keeps the temperature down at a moderate level. So, and what that will do is it will degrade the performance of the product over time.
Okay.
If you have it in very hot environments or very cold environments. But these are good now for up to 3 years before they expire.
Okay.
And so they're very handy to keep around.
Thank you so much. I wish we had more time.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. We'll see you at the event.
And welcome once again to Community ViewPoint. It's me, John Pawlak, once again. And with me today is our reference librarian, Amy Bruno, from our own community library. And we're going to be talking about an event that'll be coming up in the near future that Amy has spearheaded. And I will let her speak about that, because this is all about your hard work. So
I don't think it's all about my hard work, but on March 12th, which is coming up here, from noon to 3, we're going to have an e-waste recycling at the library again. And we've done it every year, a couple times a year for the last 5 years.
That much? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and it's pretty exciting. We fill a great big truck behind the library full of e-waste. And it happens on a Saturday, so it's kind of nice if it's a day that you have that you're not doing other things. You load up your car full of your e-waste recyclables, and you bring it into the library from noon to 3 on that Saturday. And there'll be a great big truck back there. And the guy named Charlie from Nevada State Recycle will take all your stuff and load it into his truck. And it's super neat.
So we only have 12 minutes. I think we could read everything, and it'll take 12 minutes. But anyway,
I'm not going to read everything.
You'll see the flyer at the library and
Sure.
other places around the town as well.
Sure. Yep. Oh, and there's a copy of it on the library's Facebook page too, so you
yes.
can take your time and look at it that way, or you can call us at the library. We've been known to answer the phone and answer questions once in a while there. But anyway, Nevada State Recycling does a really great job, and they're a family business out of Vegas, and they properly recycle, reuse, and dispose of e-waste. And by the time they're all done and they've taken the recyclable materials out, actually, it's a little bit less than 8% total of what they get that actually gets thrown away.
Oh, okay.
So tons and tons of recycling happens through
So
them. We fill a great big box truck here from the library event every year.
So they're able to use all the rest of it?
Almost all of it, all but 8% of it, which is really cool. That's a great number, honestly. And I'm a numbers person. I'm a reference librarian. I like numbers. So that's pretty much how I operate. So that 8%, that thing makes me happy.
Yes.
But speaking of that, do you know where most of our e-waste comes from? You know what e-waste is, right?
It's some of this stuff that my wife told me we had in our closet, and it looks like all our cell phones from the
Sure,
past
all your
year.
old cell phones. Oh my, there's a blast from the past right there.
Yeah, it's like
That's
Star Trek. Yes.
Oh yeah, you expect it to make a noise.
Yes.
But actually, most of the e-waste in the United States isn't this stuff. Actually, most of the e-waste in the United States is from small appliances. 31% of the e-waste that's produced and not produced, that's consumed in the United States, is from small appliances. Vacuum cleaners, blenders, microwaves, toasters, air fryers, griddles, crock pots.
I just told you we throw
Yes,
a vacuum
and I
away.
have thrown every single one of them. That's a list of things that I have thrown away over the years, and I bet you most people have. I bet you you don't even think about it. The broken immersion blender, the whatever. You know, I think. And here's the thing, John. You know this about me, but I bet you guys don't. I'm a farm girl. And I was raised that you take care of the land that feeds you. So I recycle a lot. And my dad says tree hugging bark eater. But the thing is that I know better. I should know better, but I clearly don't know better because John said he just threw out a
vacuum cleaner.
And I not that long ago, one of those little ones that plugs in and you can vacuum in your car. Oh yeah, I threw that right in the trash. Shame on me. But I know better now, and I've been doing this for 5 years, right? So there you go. But it's not all depressing because the single most valuable thing you can do to reduce and things like carbon footprint and unnecessary waste and greenhouse gases and groundwater pollution and all those other tree hugging, bark eating things that sound hard and complicated. And I bet you everybody out there already does it. The single most valuable thing you can do is to keep your electronics longer. Use them longer. 2 years longer. So
Okay.
you know how people give you a hard time because your cell phone's slightly out of date?
I don't listen, but
do.
yeah, I know. I do, yeah.
I even get it from my children.
If I had this,
But the thing is that you can say, I'm saving the planet, right? So, but it would actually make a 30% reduction in emissions. So that waffle iron from 1992 shaped like a Mickey Mouse, keep using it. That coffee pot you bought back in the 80s, if it still works,
yeah,
you're doing a really good thing.
not if the cord's not in good condition.
That's
so,
true.
yeah.
That's true. Okay, but I'm just saying we all do. We especially those of us that keep our things longer. We're doing our part too.
Yeah, that only goes up to a certain point. Like I mentioned to you refrigerators.
Oh sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
after if they're the rounded top, and it says Kelvinator on it or something like
Sure.
that. And they could lock a child on the inside.
Yep.
You want to toss those.
Well, or at
No,
least
drop them off to the library.
yes, you can only on that day when the truck is there, because we don't have room to store everybody's e-waste. We don't have room for our own. Part of the reason that we do this is because we need to recycle our stuff at the library.
Oh, I should have taken a picture of the container. that you-
Mountain of
yeah.
I have one of those blue recycling containers that's like a big trash can, and it's overfilled. It's got a spill down the sides and a kind of ring around it. Where we've been trying to arrange this since the beginning of the year. So okay, but now I have some depressing numbers, at least to me. 50 million metric tons of e-waste a year globally. That's how much goes into, how much gets rid of, not recycled and not thrown away, all of it together. Only about 20% of that is recycled globally. Some countries are a little more like 25%. Some countries like the US is more like 17.5%. But that 20% globally equals $55 million in raw materials. And that 50 million metric tons of e-waste a year, that means that there are 250 million metric tons produced. That's how much is produced globally of small appliances and cell phones and laptops and tablets and printers and whatever. And if 80% of that ends up in landfills, that means that is 50 million, $50 billion in mercury. That's what it is. Like if you just look at the precious metals and stuff like that. And I personally would like the mercury not to go into our groundwater and poison my grandchildren, and that's just me.
Well, I used to work with electronic items like Mercoid was a company that had Mercoid switches. They're just on-off click type electronic switches now, but they used to be mercury vials.
Yes.
And like pressure switches, when a pressure would reach a certain point, a switch would kick on and off, and that was with the mercury because it's a conductive metal.
Sure.
So all of that we used through the decades, many decades, and hopefully they reclaimed what was there.
Well, and they need to. Reclaiming that stuff is a very lucrative industry, and that's part of what the Nevada State Recycle. That's part of how Charlie and his family make their money. It's not just altruistic. They are also fixing stuff. So, so what can you do? Like, what are you do? So besides recycling at the library on Saturday, March 12th from noon to 3, you use your stuff as long as possible. You donate the items that are still usable, and you choose long-lasting things that you can repair or refurbish. And then when you can't do those things, you recycle them. Safely recycle them, and we'll help you. But that's not really what I want to talk about.
No.
Now, I want to talk about curbside pickup at the library.
Yes.
So we have a circulation clerk named Joni who has started a program, and she started it a little over a year ago during the shutdown stuff, so longer than that, more than a year ago, that allows people to drive up to the back of the library on Wednesday morning and pick up books or magazines or audiobooks or music CDs. Anything you can check out from the library, Joni can get for you. And it's helped a lot of people every week, but I think that we could help more. I think people have the shut-in neighbor next to them, or a mom who lives at the senior center, or
like Meals on Wheels almost.
yes,
They
and
get the meals out to them.
we can't deliver them to them, but we can have Joni waiting right there at the curb at the back of the library with the books that people call or log in and request. And so you need a library card, and then you log into our website or you call us, which is 775-727-5930. and you ask for Joni or you ask for curbside and you request what you want. And like I said, not just books, audio books, magazines, movies, audio CDs, any materials that we lend out in the library you can use. And you just call and reserve it, and they put the requested books on hold for you. And then on Tuesdays, she calls you to tell you they're available, and you can pick them up on Wednesdays.
And remember, we're not open on Sunday. And what are our hours?
Oh, regular workday hours? Joni's out there from 9 to 10, but the library is open from 10 in the morning until 6 o'clock most evenings, and 10 to 4 Friday and Saturday.
And with that, I thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. We're out of time. Thank you for watching. Stop by the library.